Oh, that was rather lovely. That was very jolly. Yeah. Very, very good. Thank you all very much indeed for another evening of marvellous music. I must confess, I haven't heard, I think, any of that music this evening, so it's been a real pleasure to hear it for the first time. Congratulations. I do wonder, however, whether any of you noticed that there is a line missing from the Magnificat. Did any of you pick that up? Anybody in the congregation pick it up? No? There is a line missing. I'll tell you, because otherwise you'll be searching for it throughout the sermon. The line, he has put down the mighty from their seat and uplifted the humble and meek, is not in the Dyson, which is an intriguing thought, isn't it? I think it may be possible that Sir George Dyson was somewhat part of the establishment, and that lines about putting the mighty down from their seat and lifting up the humble and meek do not always go down well with the establishment, let me tell you. So it may be that he just slipped that out of the libretto. Huh? I leave you to ponder. But let's think about tonight's readings, if we can, which ask us to contemplate the role and the function of priests within our church communities, which is not a bad thing to do, given that we have a deacon in training here amongst us, who is to become a priest, we hope and pray, in about 11 months' time. So ears back, Sandra. This one's for you. Okay? Right, jolly good. I won't be able to see whether she's doing rabbit ears behind me from here, so I leave it to you to tell me if she's behaving. Our first reading, which was from the apocryphal book of Ecclesiasticus, a book of wisdom that has been respected by the church throughout the years. It describes the process by which a scribe becomes wise. Yeah, did you get that? Beautifully read by Sandra. Thank you very much. The scribes of Bible times were analogous to the readers and indeed the deacons of today. They were learned men, and of course they all were men in those days, who could both read and scribe the Holy Scriptures specifically. Yeah. They were meant to be wise men to whom others could turn for advice about how to live in accordance with God's laws. But the writer of Ecclesiasticus warns us, the wisdom of the scribe depends on the opportunity of leisure. Only the one who has little business can become wise. He goes on to draw parallels with farmers and master artisans and blacksmiths and potters, each devoted specifically and completely to the skillful pursuit of their tasks. The writer does not denigrate such professions. In fact, he praises them for their attention to detail and for the skill of their hands and his craft. But he does say, how can one become wise who handles the plough? Wisdom, you see, takes time to acquire. Now, of course, we can all pick up a bit of wisdom here and there, can't we? Especially in these days of extended rest, of 5-day working weeks, of long retirements. Such luxuries were unknown to the people of biblical times. But you know, to truly acquire wisdom in depth takes time. It takes an application of effort, which is similar to that of the farmer or the blacksmith or the potter, but it is the application of the mind rather than of the hands. This is especially true, of course, for us priests and the one who will become a priest. I count myself among the more fortunate priests of my acquaintance, quite simply because I benefit from such a large team of colleagues around me. We have our retired clergy, our amazing volunteers, our PCC members, Graham and the music team, and our inestimably important paid staff as well. Unlike many parish clergy who I observe, I actually do have some time to pursue to at least some diligent training in wisdom, in the hope that I can offer some of it back to you from time to time. I'm reminded of an analogy by Eugene Peterson, who is, for those who may just wonder where you've heard that name, he's the translator of the Message Bible, which is a contemporary transliteration of the Bible. Really, really good read if you want to read the Bible in modern English. But he has a reputation as the pastor's pastor amongst theologians. He likened the role of a pastor to that of a harpooner in an old-style whaling boat. Now, I hope you'll forgive the analogy because, of course, whale hunting is clearly, an awful, awful thing. But just go with it. Go with the analogy. Peterson says that the pastor of a congregation is called to be like the harpooner who settles into the prow of the boat, ready to strike with his harpoon when the time is right. All his fellows are straining against the oars. This is from the last century and a half ago. They're all rowing like billy-o to try and catch up to this whale. They exhaust themselves pulling on the oars, but the harpooner stays put in the front of the ship because all their efforts would be in vain if the harpooner is not ready at the precise moment to throw his spear and to guide the boat as to what direction it should go. It would be pointless to the entire endeavour of whaling if the harpooner was exhausted by also having to row the ship. Are you with me? The successful harpooner, says Peterson, arises out of rest, even out of indolence, to throw his harpoon at the right moment. This, then, Peterson says, should be the mindset that we should expect from our priests. Now, many of you today come from other parishes, which is marvellous. I love it that we get to come together like this. But perhaps in your parishes, you observe your parish priest rushing around day after day, getting enmeshed and involved in every detail of parish life. They're expected to be at every meeting, at every event, and to visit every sick person in the parish, and to lead every single service that takes place, and to answer every phone call, message, or email, or text within a few hours, or risk being called lazy by their congregation. I don't know what they do all day, but they didn't answer my phone call. To each of you from other parishes, I want to give you this charge. Go back to your parish and encourage your priest to be like the harpooner. Give them the permission and the support that they will need to be capable of rest and capable of absorbing wisdom, precisely so that they will be ready to offer it when it is needed. All parishes, in fact, all groups of people need harpooners as well as rowers, or they risk rowing round and round in circles and never catching that whale. Now, the focus of our second reading this evening is linked. It's on the liturgical role of the priest. We draw our unique calling, us priests, from the model and the example of Christ, who the writer to the Hebrews calls our great high priest. He is a minister in the sanctuary and the true tent that the Lord and not any mortal has set up at the right hand of God. We human priests on the earth below, on the other hand, offer our sacrifices in a sanctuary which, and I love the way Hugh sort of spat these words out, we offer our sacrifices in a sanctuary which the writer calls a sketch and a shadow of the heavenly one. Yeah? Just a mere sketch, a mere shadow. And frankly, we priests do well to remember that when or if we ever get tempted to get bigger than our boots and start lording it over our flock. Priests on earth, you see, we have an immense privilege. The privilege of being vicars of Christ, representatives of Christ, ambassadors for Christ. And with that comes the immense responsibility of shepherding and caring for our flocks with wisdom. And we're back to Ecclesiasticus. So please pray that we, that's me and all my colleagues in the other parishes that you serve, please pray that we find the time to be wise in the fulfillment of those duties. But we are wise, all of us, if we note that the old system of earthly priests celebrating in a sketch and shadow of the heavenly sanctuary is an idea that is passing away. Rather, as St. Paul taught his followers, all believers are called to be priests. The priesthood of all believers, it's known as. The notion that each and every one of us who claim the name of Christian have a responsibility, as priests do, to stand between earth and heaven, to be those who represent God to the earth and represent through prayer the earth back to God. You see, the writer to the Hebrews states that under the terms of Jesus' new covenant, God is writing his laws in the minds and on the hearts of all people. You see, that means all of us have a priestly responsibility to become as wise as we are able, and of shepherding all those whom God places in our path. It's no longer the responsibility of the priest alone to know the things of God. Rather, we are all called to be icons of Christ for everyone. The way you speak to others, the way you welcome others, the way you look after others helps others to see Christ through you. And so finally, we're drawn back to Ecclesiasticus. His advice about the need for leisure in order to become wise, well, it applies to all of us, to all scribes, to all priests, to all of us, to all believers. So as well as returning to your parishes to encourage your own priest to take time to become wise, I want to charge you too. You need the time to cultivate wisdom as well. So lay aside some of whatever business with which you fill your days. Leave the garden alone for a few hours, or turn off the TV. Neglect that laundry pile for a little while. Maybe wash your car fortnightly instead of weekly. Take the time to become the harpooner instead of the rower. Practice wisdom so that when you are called upon to offer advice to your family, to your friends, to your neighbors, you will have a well of wisdom carefully accumulated from which to draw. That, my brothers and sisters, is a calling on all of our lives. That is the calling of the priesthood of all believers. Can I have an amen to that? Amen. Thank you.